Peace. This is King Noble Black Supremacy, and with this particular video, I finally want to break my silence on the terroristic lynching of George Floyd. Terroristic lynching by a racist white supremacist in a cop uniform. Clearly, that was a lynching, and that was an act of terrorism. Clearly, he was executed and murdered in broad daylight. Unquestionably, the murderer wanted to make sure that he was murdered. He took his time and made sure that not one breath was left, while the crowd and onlookers urged him and plead for George Floyd's life. This lunatic, psychotic, racist white supremacist didn't stop till he squeezed every ounce of life out of that black man. The world has witnessed this. It is obvious, it is unarguable, it is unquestionable. We are clear on what we saw, we're clear on what happened. It cannot be argued. Now, justice is a distraction, an illusion. You cannot get justice from your enemies. You cannot get justice. And even if they were to render some justice in regards to this particular situation, it would not solve the problem. It would not even address the problem. And that's the unfortunate part about all of the rioting and the looting and the protesting, is that none of that addresses the problem, the ongoing problem, to any capacity. It doesn't address it. It's a distraction from what we're up against as black people in this country. A serious, serious distraction. I'll give an example of a snake. It's like a snake, bites somebody and you go out and say, I want justice. This snake, this cobra, this copperhead snake, it bit somebody, I know, and I'm going out here to get justice. And you kill that one snake. You didn't deal with the problem. You only killed that one snake. The problem is there's going to be another snake, and another snake, and another snake, and another snake, as long as these snakes are enemy to mankind. They will continue to be born and continue to manifest. So justice for killing that one snake means nothing. Now, of course, we know, all snakes are not venomous. Some snakes are friendly towards humans. Hell, some snakes don't even bite. But we know that there are some snakes that are venomous and poisons that will continue to bite and poison human beings. What does it all go to say? What's my point here? Is that there must be a system of defense to address racism, white supremacy. There must be a system in place to address it. There must be a systematic defense mechanism that is in place beyond rioting, beyond protesting, and beyond begging your enemy for justice. That's our responsibility as a people, to ensure the safety and the well-beingness of our community. And it must be done in a very organized fashion. It must be very efficient, and it must be perpetual from this point on to address this severe problem. You talk about justice, you talk about some white people going to jail, some white people getting a death chair, some white people losing their job. I'm here to tell you that they really don't care whether they go to jail, whether they lose their job, or whether they get the death chair. They are suicidal jihadists against black people. They are terrorists, and they have only one thing on their mind, and that is black death. And they will go to any extent to cause that to happen. And they will sacrifice and give up anything for that cause. You're dealing with white supremacist, terroristic jihadists that have declared war on the black community, war on the black race, and even war against any government or any institutions that would protect the lives of black people. This is what you don't realize. When I look in the eyes of that cop who murdered George Floyd in cold blood, I see a cold-blooded killer. I see someone that is hell-bent on the death of a black man. He doesn't care about justice. He doesn't care about the consequences of the penalty. These white people are willing at this point to give their lives, to sacrifice their lives. The unfortunate part of this is, as blacks, we do not understand what type of enemy we are up against. We're still talking about some Martin Luther King shit from the 60s. We're still talking about human rights, civil rights, justice. This is all idealism. Until a system is put in place by us to deal with these venomous snakes, we will continue to get bit, continue to be murdered by them. This is a fact. The white man cannot save us. Good white people cannot save us. It is beyond the police department. It is beyond the government. It's beyond the system. It is beyond all of that. All of those are just cloaks and veils. Our real problem is in the heart of that white supremacist terrorist that's hell-bent on taking black lives. And that's not going to change. You can change the system. You can come up with different forms of policing methods and checks and balances. But as long as that hatred exists in the heart of that white man against blacks, as long as that hatred exists in the heart of our natural enemy, he will continue to conjure up ways and methods at all costs to kill blacks. He does not care. This is not about policing. This is not about just the government's neglect. This is about our open enemy. The good thing about this is that matrix is being destroyed for many of you. Many of you all seeing that they would allow this whole country to be destroyed before they're willing to expediently check and discipline and penalize 4 officers. They would allow this whole country to be destroyed. That's heavy. They will allow this whole country to be completely destroyed. The problem with the government and the police and the military is that they are a system of defense for white supremacists. At the very end of the day, this country was built by black people, but it was not built for black people. So by default, this country defends and protects white supremacy and white supremacists. That's what you have to realize. It's set up to defend and protect white people. That's why they created it. That's the beginning of its conception. That has not changed. That has not changed. The matrix is collapsing for black people who thought things had changed and this is your country and this is your government and you have some kind of rights. All your rights are temporal. contingent and conditional. There's so many excuses and reasons and situations and circumstances why your rights can be just totally stripped away from you. You've seen that with the COVID-19. You're seeing that now with the protesting and rioting, police brutality. You have no rights that you are not willing to systematically implement. Blacks in this country must address the terrorism of the police department, the terrorism of white supremacists, the terrorism of government, this white supremacy mentality. It must be addressed like terrorism is addressed in foreign countries. Systems must be in place to defend ourselves from these terroristic attacks by white supremacy. That should be our focus. In the process of establishing that, we will become more independent, we will become more nationalistic, we will become more self-sufficient, and eventually we will rise to a nation state. And out of the ashes and downfall of the structure and the integrity of white supremacy will rise black supremacy and a black nation. A black independent and sovereign nation will rise out of this. The white supremacist matrix is collapsing. This is perfect timing. The economy collapsing, people losing their businesses, people locked in the house for weeks, the economy barely recovering. Now people running out in the streets, destroying what was left of that economy. Whatever hope that was left for that economy, people are now coming out into the streets and tearing those businesses to the ground, destroying those businesses. New curfew imposed. The matrix is collapsing. Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. It's bigger than martial law. It's bigger than the deep state. The matrix is collapsing. This shit is falling down. Babylon is burning. This is no coincidence. They can call for the military and bring the military in. There's no guarantee that the military is going to be able to stop the mayhem and the rioting and the unrest in the people. There's no guarantee. You can call into the military. That doesn't mean nothing. The people have overthrew many militaries. People have called for regime change in the face of military occupation. Them calling the military in means absolutely nothing. That is not hope. That is not a definite solution to what we see going on in America. America is more divided than it has ever been. There's division all over the place between state and city, state, and federal government. We're going through some serious times right now. Don't get distracted by that. Our focus needs to be built on the establishment of the Black New World Order, the Black New World, the Black Kingdom. The hereafter the fall of Babylon should be our focus. And in the hereafter the fall of Babylon, there will be a defense mechanism, a system in place to defend blacks, self-defense, independence against white supremacists and white supremacist terrorism. The white man is on his last leg. So he's fighting. He's angrier now. He's more hostile now. Because nature got him backed up in a corner. His survival is being threatened. This is his last fight. This is his last front. This is his last chance. Don't be distracted by all this. We must establish a black kingdom and a black nation in the midst of all of this and prepare for the end of his world and the beginning of a new black world. I see pictures and videos of cops kneeling to blacks and soldiers kneeling to blacks and white people kneeling to blacks. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess to black supremacy. That's what we move into. Some of us, while you all are protesting and looting and rioting and begging your oppressor to have some humanity and compassion for you, which he have not had in the last 400 years. Many of us are just building the new kingdom. Many of us are building a new empire right now. We're establishing a new world and a new reality in the midst of all of this confusion and chaos. We are not distracted. We knew who our enemy was in the past, and we are very clear on who our enemy is today. Very clear. But it's time for you to accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own king. Accept your own God. Accept your own Messiah. Accept King Noble Black supremacy. The old world is ending. It's coming to an end. So don't get distracted by all that dog and pony show, by that fanfare. Stay focused. We've been told you that you was at war. We told you who the enemy is. And now you have overwhelming evidence to the fact. Now separate yourself from that system, from that government, from that reality, from the totality of that narrative. Come out of their world. Come out of their reality, their dying dimension, their dying paradigm. Come out of it. Step completely out of it now. You have no reason to support it and to continue to perpetuate their reality in any way. And now we must defend our own reality. Defend our own reality. Defend our own nation. Defend our own people. And that's where our focus should be, on self-defense. Total defense. And even if that defense requires offensive strategies, we must defend ourselves like nations defend themselves from terrorists. We must. We have no choice. They force us to now view all of them as enemy combatants. All of them must be viewed as a threat and as an enemy and as a potential terrorist. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. They give us no choice. They force us to do so. So take your energy. Now, if you are really intelligent, if you are really conscious, if you're really awoke and focused, and start developing systems of defense for your community, for your family, for your nation, and for your people, and implement those systems into play, and let's install the new black world order, the new black supremacy. Let's install that now. Let's bring about that installation, not just anarchy and people running array. You need some of that, of course, because the matrix is falling, the matrix is collapsing. That has its place. The fools will destroy their own world and their own reality. But that world is for the fools. Us of level-headed and us of clear mind know what we're up against and what we must do. We must build a new kingdom, a new world, a new nation, and a new government, and a new society. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. Join my website, www.kingnobleblacksupremacy.com. Donate and don't hate.